Okay, so guys, so last week we just started talking about the sense in which Korban Pesach, unique amongst the Korbanot, is defined primarily by its role le'achila. As I'm saying that, someone texted me, "Are we interested in Mincha at Hazorim?" So I don't have to go down to the yeshiva. Yes. Okay.
No, we haven't done.
Fine. So the centrality of Achila in Korban Pesach. Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah.
Fine. So one of the ways in which this manifests itself, the way that Achila is different, is in how much one has to eat. What exactly does the mitzvah of Achila mean? Right? Because all Korbanot have a mitzvah of Achila, right? Except for Nola. But in general, the halacha is that HaKohanim ochlim v'baylim miskaprim, right? That the owners, the Kohanim eat it, and that functions as kapara. And we saw that according to Ramban, we saw this a while ago. I don't know if you guys remember. According to Ramban, when the Bailim eat the shlomim, right? That's also right. That's also part of the mitzvah, right? So then in what sense is Pesach unique? What does it mean that lo ba mitchila so elo la'achila, which is, right, Zev is like, is that an achron? No, it's actually a Mishnah, right? It's a Mishnah, lo ba mitchila elo, right? So fine. So like I said, one of the key places that really manifests itself is in some of the details, obviously, as you would expect, of the mitzvah of the Achilah of the Korban Pesach. That's right. That's where you would test this. What exactly does it mean? That sounds reasonable. Good. So let's start here. The Rambam in the Sefer HaMitzvos writes as follows. Mitzvah Nun Hey and Nun Vav. My Bar-Ilan was acting up a bit, so this is some mix of Sfaria and then Bar-Ilan once I got my Bar-Ilan working. I don't know what. For some reason, my Bar-Ilan copies anything except for anything in the Sefer HaMitzvos of the Rambam. It's like my Bar-Ilan just doesn't I can read it, but I can't copy and paste. It's really weird. I don't know. There's definitely some. I don't know. Anyways, so he should sivanu l'shchodes Pesach miyamar ba'asar b'nisan bein harbayim. Right, the first mitzvah is the shchita. Okay, good. Umisha over al tzivu zevel lekravu bizmano chayav karet ben ish ben isha. And if you don't shecht the Korban Pesach, you are chayav kares. Yes. Good. But in addition, the next mitzvah Nun Vav, you skip down to, for some reason it says Aleph again, whatever, I don't know what Sfaria wants from my life. He should sivanu lechol keves a-pesach b'leil chamisha asar minisan mitanav ha-nizkarim v'hushi yetzli v'shyochol v'yzecha v'yoshol matzos umarorim. Right? There is a separate mitzvah to eat the Korban Pesach according to all of its conditions. Meaning, in a house, with matzah, with maror, v'amru v'achlas abasar b'lai lazet, li'eshu matzos umarom yochlu. Now, sometimes I love when the Rambam does this, right? The Rambam comes out from his sort of objective, I am codifying, and says, right, he talks to you. He says, maybe you'll have a question, right? Why is this one mitzvah, not three? Right? Maybe you are confused by the way I count mitzvahs. Ashivenu. So let me answer you. What?
Pesach Matamara.
It says, Omnam heyod achilat matzah mitzvah bifnei atzma hu emet kimosha ani atid lavaer. He said, it is its own mitzvah, as I shall explain. V'chein achilat basar ha-pesach mitzvah b'nei atzma kimosha zacharnu. Aval mar nigro achilat ha-pesach v'inei mitzvah b'nei atzma. He said, that's very nice, but maror isn't, right? Maror is a dragged along mitzvah. V'raya l'davar shabasar pesach yochal l'kayim ha-mitzvah Hein she yizdamin amar lo yizdamin v'amar lo yochal ki im basar pesach amram amaram yochlahu. I'll prove it to you. You eat Pesach without maror, but you don't eat maror without Pesach, right? Which is why maror bismana says terabanan. Very good, right? Avam maror b'bli basar lo asa klum v'lo nemer kfar kayim mitzvah achot. V'loshan mechelta tzli eish umatzot amoram yochlu magid shemitzvah tzli matzah umaror klomar shamitzvah hi kibutz. Elam.
Isn't this only answer Mara, not matzah?
V'sham amri minaita omer she'im ein lahem matzah Mara him yotzin dechavado b'batzach tam alomer yochlu klomar basar levado yochal ein lahem pesach yatzu dechawatam. etc. Okay. Now, matzah is also independent, which is why it's daraisa b'zman hazeh. Okay, but just from this, what do you see? Right, that the only thing that's most important, at least for our purposes, is that the achila of the Pesach gets a special mitzvah, right? In addition to the shechita,
Right.
and in addition to whatever mitzvah there is for achilas karbanos in general, right? Meaning, right, as opposed to saying, right, logic. Right, what's weird about the way the Rambam counts the mitzvah here is that I would have expected either a mitzvah to bring the Korban Pesach, right, and that's it, right, right.
Follows regular other rules.
Correct, meaning the achila of the Korban Pesach is either, right, there's one of two places I would have included the mitzvah of achilas Korban Pesach, and neither of them were in its own mitzvah.
Right.
I would have put it either in the mitzvah to bring the Pesach, or in the mitzvah to eat karbanot, right? Mm-hmm. But the Rambam puts it in neither, and said he counts two separate mitzvahs, and then, it's very funny, because the Rambam is like, you might have a kasha on me. Why didn't I count matzah and maror? He doesn't say, you might have a kasha on me. Why the heck did I count a separate mitzvah of achilat matzah when I didn't count it, right? When I already have two logical mitzvahs I could have put it in, which is shchitas HaPesach or achilas HaKarbanos, right? Why, right? That didn't bother the Rambam, right? Or, I should say differently. That didn't even enter the Rambam's mind that would bother the reader, right? It was so obvious to the Rambam that the centrality of Achila and the uniqueness, the sui generis nature of the mitzvah of Achilas Pesach is such. Sui generis is Latin for unique, right?
We don't know Latin.
We
barely know English.
Unique, okay?
You sound like Jew. What's the voice?
Well, okay, so technically, or to use what Reverse Zweig probably did say on this, I would say you would say, but I'm sure he did actually say these words, were that the way to look at it would be, when the Mishnah said that Pesach lo ba mitchilato ela la'achila, what that means is, achila is a sine qua non of Korban Pesach. Sine qua non means without which there is none. Right? Meaning that which, right?
You say the sentence in like a normal way.
What?
So you say like the sentence in a
I
normal
want to say
way.
that you were mad at me for using lumdish term. Why is that any better than using lumdish term?
What do you mean? It's not a lumdish term.
I don't know Latin.
But I know it. I know what it means.
You know what lumdish term is.
Right? I know what it means.
Well, then go learn by yourself.
Anyways.
No, don't. Please don't.
Okay, I'll go and I'll mumble lumdus and Latin in the corner. Right? Ephraim pricked up Latin. Okay, good. Fine.
Wait, can you say the sentence again, but like with no Latin terms? I have to reinterpret and I get lost.
What?
Fine. That when we say that the Korban Pesach is lo ba mitchilato l'achila, that means that while by other karbanot achila is part of the mitzvah, right? In Korban Pesach it is definitional, such that without eating it, right, the Pesach is essentially meaningless, right? Okay.
Wouldn't you maybe think the opposite?
What?
Just from this, wouldn't you think that by Pesach you have two mitzvahs, both the shechita and the achila? So if you can't do the achila, might as well do the shechita. You only get one mitzvah.
So you
by
might
the other ones they're combined. So if it's ma'akev, you just don't get any mitzvah at all. So there's no point.
Interesting, except that the Mishnah says not that way, right? Meaning, right, you're reading the Rambam in light of the fact that there is a line in the Mishnah that says lo ba mitchilato ela la'achila, right? Which would push me to not take, even though you're right, if I just read the Rambam and I didn't know anything in Shas, right, then I might come to that. But since we started this last week, and all of this is really trying to define that one very suggestive achronish line in the Mishnah, right? Again, I've told you this before. One of the reasons that briskers like Kachim is because in Kachim, the Mishnayos and the Gemaras talk as if they were the Reb Chaim, right? They throw out all these wonderfully lumdish formulations, right? That you expect to find only in people whose last name is Soloveitchik, right? Or were Talmidim of such people. Okay. So.
Didn't find any Latin there.
No, that's other parts of the that Soloveitchik family. The ones that are Soloveitchik and then married Lichtenstein or Torskis, right? Those parts of the family. Okay, fine. So, but some of the Achronim have several classic sources they point to highlight the uniqueness of this. So, one of them is how much of the Korban Pesach do you have to eat? L'umat. Yeah, meaning does every individual have to eat? Kazayas. What about a normal Korban? So you look at number 2. There's a Gemara in Pesachim. Hanu tlasa kahane right? It's in the middle of a discussion of how much food the Kohanim managed to get from the Korbanot. So you have a discussion there where the Kohanim said, Chad Omer Hegiani Kapol. I managed to get a
double.
No, not kaful.
Bunch.
Kaful. I understand what he said. No, kipol is the size of a bean. Right? Okay. Kipol. The Chad Omer Kazayis. And one said he got a Kazayis. The Chad Omer Hegiani Kazanav Al Ta'a. Bad Gachar Madu Hashem is Psul. One said I managed to get a Kazanav, right, the size of a tail. The whole context doesn't matter, but the point is that one of them said that by normal korban, how much did he manage to get? Less than a Kazayis. Right? That he ate less than a Kazayis. I think this is... I'm trying to think if there's a korban lechem upon him. I don't remember which one I put here. But the point is that in normal korban, there was evidence that the Kohanim weren't eating, right, a kazayis, right? They weren't eating a kazayis, which is suggestive. Piece of evidence number 1. Piece of evidence number 2. Skip to number 4 for a moment. I don't know. Again, this was part of this combination of whatever. So the Gemara in Nazir, and this identical Gemara appears in several places in Shas. Amar Rabba Bar Bachana Amar Yochanan. Mai dechsiv ki yisharim darchei Hashem v'tzadikim yachuvam v'foshim yikashlu bam. What does it mean that the ways of God are straight, tzadikim shall walk in them, and sinners shall falter in them? Right? So in what is an act such that the same act would be successful for tzaddikim and a failure for rishayim? Right? That's the Gemara's question. Yes?
Yeah.
So mashal l'shnei v'nei adam shetzalu et pischehen. So the Gemara says, here's the case. 2 people who roast their Pesach. Echad achlu l'shem mitzvah ve'echad achlu l'shem achila gasa. One ate it for the mitzvah and one ate it to be a glutton.
It's in a Horios also.
Correct. It's in Horios. It's in some form in Yevamos. Yes. Zeh she'achlu l'shem mitzvah. The one who ate it l'shem mitzvah v'tzadikim yelchu bam. He's a tzaddik. Right. Zeh she'achlu l'shem achila gasa u'poshem yikashlu bam. And the one who ate it for gluttony is the sinner who shall stumble.
Oh. Poor guy.
Amar le Reish Lakish. Hi Rasha Karisle. I'm sorry. What? The person ate the Korban Pesach, but for the wrong reason. That's your paradigmatic Rasha? Him? Right? Not like the person who's Bechal Shabbos. No, the person who ate the Korban Pesach, but for the wrong reason. He's like, no. Nihi delo avid mitzvah min hamuvchar. I get it. It's not an ideal mitzvah. Pesach miakavid. He did the mitzvah. Elamashal shnei bnei adam ze ishto v'achoso imo v'ze ishto v'achoso imo v'ze nizam lo ishto v'ze nizam lo achoso v'ze nizam lo ishto tzadikim yelchuvam v'ze nizam lo achoso poshem kashlovam. So then it goes much more cynical and says 2 people, they're in a dark room with their wife and their sister. One of them neither of them quite knows who they're sleeping with. One, it turns out his wife. One, it turns out it's his sister. One of those, yay. One of those, no, not yay.
Weird tzaddik.
Yeah, is that a sorry?
Yeah, well, anyway, not important.
He's not the best guy.
Second half, maybe for when I got it this year, we'll do the second half, but not for now. The first half is what I'm worried about. But what is the Gemara? What's important here? The Gemara says that if you eat achila gasa, you're yotze. What's the problem? So if you look at the Gemara in Yevamos number 5, aksiv v'achlu odam asher kupar bahem. Right. So as we've talked about, right, melamed she kohanim ochlum bailim miskaprin. That when the kohanim eat the korban, right? Yeah. So la ratza hu ochla ratza kohen achar ochla, right? So you can eat it, another kohen can eat it. Talmud lomar matzos tochal makom kadosh mitzvah. You should eat it. Fine. So Amar le Rabbi Yitzchak bar Avdimi Amar Rabbi Shua Amar Abba Sholhi Hacha Maitre Gavne Ika v'chitim ratza l'zeman ochla ratza achila gasa ochla. So Gemara says, maybe you'll say that, again, I don't want to get the whole context, but Gemara says, maybe you'll say that you can eat achila gasa or not. How could that be? Achila gasa mishmei achila? Is achila gasa achila? Talmud lom, v'amar Reish Lakish, ochel achila gasa b'yom kippurim, pater, milos su'uneh. If you eat on Yom Kippur, achila gasa, you are pater. Correct. Now Zev is like, what is the case? So most Rishonim assume that means that you ate to the point of gluttony before Yom Kippur, and then at that point, any food that you would eat afterwards is painful.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But there does seem to be, the Rishonim does seem to say that no, even if I just ate, having kavana that I was going to eat out of achila gasa, that would be mutter.
That's crazy. That's insane.
Or not usher, whatever, not Correct. But most Rishonim assume what that means is that you were full going into Yom Kippur and then you ate the gluttonous part.
That's still like weird, but like kind of makes sense.
Okay. So now the Rishonim are bothered and they say, wait a second. So Korban Pesach, Am Yotzei Achila Gasa, it's just not mitzvah min amufchar. But
all other karbanos.
But Yom Kippur and maybe other karbanos.
I don't know what
Is it Achila with a psul
What?
or is it not?
Well, Yom Kippur, the Gemara says Achila Gasa is not Shmei Achila.
Whatever it's talking about here also is not Achila.
And regular karbanos, it also seems to be right that it wouldn't be Achila.
Yeah.
Right? So how could that be? So Tosfos says, V'im Tomar, the Amar Peperik Misha Amar Hareini Nazir, Ki Yisharim Darchei Hashem. Tzadikim Yalchu Bam, Avoshu Yikashlu Bam, Mashal Shnevi Adam, Shetzol B'Schem Echad Achlu, Shem Pesach, Echad, Shem Achila Gaso, Mashal Masam Travayu Nafke, Al Mohav Yachila. How can you tell me that Achila Gasa is not Achila, the gluttony is not Achila?
Right.
You're Yotzi Korban Pesach. V'yesh Lomar, the training in Yanei Achila Gasa Heim. So Tosfos says, there's two levels, right? This is like a very lumdish one, except it's very proto-brisker.
What could you say?
Tzvei dinim. What are the tzvei dinim? I don't know. There are tzvei.
Right.
What the tzvei are, I don't know, but I know they're tzvei, right?
For simple answer, couldn't you say that what you were saying before, one of them's the kavanah to eat gasa like, and one of them was actually being full?
Maybe, but what Tosfos seems to hold, the trei achina gasa is what he says in number 7. If you look at Tosfos in Pesachim, the next source, he asks the same question, and he says 3 lines down, V'omer Rabbeinu Tam, the trei gavne achila gasa, achat shenafshu katzim lechol val osa pater b'yom kippurim, yesh gasa sheinu mizava lechol. There's gluttony where I'm not hungry anymore and I'm just eating because I want to. That's achila, it's just gluttonous, right? You know, like you're full, and then you're like, oh, but there's ice cream, right? That's technically achila. Right, and then there's achila gasa, which causes pain, which is right. Every bite you get more nauseous. You know, he said that's not achila, right? You know, like the way they force feed like ducks, right? You know, for like to fatten them up, right? You like shove it down there. That's not achila anymore. So one way is to say now this type of answer, by the way, says that all achilot in Shas are equivalent. The only question is which achila gasa is it?
But for karbanos,
right? Meaning it's shvei dinim and achila gasa, not a chiluk between Pesach and Korbanot or Pesach and Yom Kippur. Right? There's one halacha, which is achila gasa level 1, achila gasa. Meaning there's more than one type of achila gasa, but once you have the different standards of achila gasa, they are true equivalently through all areas of halacha. Right? Whenever you need achila, I'm not hungry, but I'm eating anyways, is called achila. It hurts me to eat is not achila.
Yeah.
Okay. And then Rabbeinu Tam says, this must be contextually the achila we were talking about by Korban Pesach. Why? He says, because that's the one that makes sense. Namely, you always eat Korban Pesach al hasova, and therefore it's always either achila gasa or bordering on achila gasa, because, right, let's face it, if you have to eat Korban Pesach when you're to fill you up, you might accidentally eat slightly too much, and therefore it will be, I'm already full, but I could eat if I really needed to, right? And therefore he says it's a logical thing to say, what if I eat Korban, right? And that's what he's saying. He's saying, it's a very realistic case that you have two people who are eating Korban Pesach when they're basically full. One does it l'shem mitzvah, one does it because, you know, he likes, instead of having ice cream for dessert, to have more meat, right?
Smart man.
Right? Yeah. You know, he's the person, as my neighbor once said, if I wake up and I'm not fleshik, I had an unsuccessful night. You know? Like he's of that mentality. So which I don't understand for so many reasons.
Staying up eating meat.
Well, that's the second kasha. But the first kasha is ew, the second kasha is even if you like meat, you sleep, you're willing to sleep. Now, it could be that he just can't sleep a whole 6 hours without waking up in the middle of the night to have a hot dog. Whatever the point is. Fine. And then he says, "V'od yesh lomer de'ein lo likros rasha kevan shekim mitzvahs pesach aval pish lo kiyem mitzvahs achila da'achilas pesachim lo ma'akva." And then he says something which is really quite strange, and he says, well, maybe he was Yotzei Mitzvah's Pesach, but he wasn't Yotzei Mitzvah Achilas Pesach. Right? That's the distinction, Shechita versus Achila, right?
Okay.
Right? So he's not a Gans Russia, right?
But because he's
okay. Uma sheperish Rashbam denokat matzah mishum deshaycha afil bizman hazeh deleka Pesach lo. Here at the feel of time mishum Pesach asur bizman hazeh. Fine. Okay, that's.
What do you mean by mitzvah mufchar though? That he's just not Yotzei.
What? So it sounds like he's Yotzei, just not the best thing he could have done.
Right. So it doesn't sound like he's not Yotzei.
Yeah. It's like a strange read.
Yeah.
Okay. So the Ritva. Okay. The Ritva on this Gemara deals with this as well. Now, theoretically, remember, there are really three ways to distinguish, right? One is to say there's two types of Achila Gasa, and the other two ways are to say Korban Pesach is unique, or to say that Achila Yom Kippur is unique. Right? So the Ritva says, maybe Achila Yom Kippur is unique because it doesn't say Achila. It never says you can't eat on Yom Kippur. It says
you have to make yourself.
You have Inui, right? And therefore, if I'm eating in a way that causes pain, it is Inui. That's why Yom Kippur is unique, right? Meaning the point is, what?
But the Gemara didn't say that.
Well, maybe that's what he means, right? He said that on Achila on Yom Kippur is unique, right? That's how the Ritva reads it.
Wait, no, I'm confused. I thought the Gemara was questioning how could it be that it's Gasa?
No, he says on Achila Gasa and Yom Kippur, right?
Achilas Gasa Mishami Achila.
Correct. So the Ritva thinks the answer is right. Well, I mean, I cut the Gemara in the middle, right? I mean, there's the middle, but the Ritva way he understands the Gemara is that maybe the Maskana is the no. Achila Gasa is Achila,
right?
But Yom Kippur is unique. Okay.
Yeah.
The Gemara goes on to say that this is like a bad proof.
I mean, the Gemara continues. This is not the end of the discussion. Okay. And then he summarizes Tosfos. Okay, you know what? Let me try to make the main point. If next week we have to develop more, that'll be fine. But to get out the main way that the Achronim, one of the main central claims that the Achronim make here. To give you just a little bit, one more Gemara though. The Gemara in Yoma also shows again the uniqueness of Korban Pesach Lumat other Karbanos. This is in the context of Lechem Apanim, right? Where, trust me, the context here is Lechem Apanim, but look at the last two lines. Mikan va'elech nishtalcha me'era ba'omer shtei alechem Lechem Apanim. Meaning, no, really the context of the Gemara is all the miracles that happened during the reign of Kohen Gadol of Shimon HaTzadik.
Wait, where are we right now?
Number 9. Right? So one of them was that the Shtei Alechem was particularly blessed. So he said, but after that finished, it wasn't blessed. And therefore, Kol Kohen Magia Kapol, Atznun Moshe Nadem Agargar Notlin V'Ochlen. And therefore there was only enough for people to take the size of a bean, right? And therefore the Tznuin would just not bother taking anything, and the gluttonous people would take more. But no one would take Kazayas. That was the point. Okay? So, the Beis HaLevi, if you look at 11, takes this evidence, and he says, okay, Mesechus Nazir, Amar, Shnayim Shetzalu Peschen Zeh Shachlu Shem Mitzvah Tzadikim Yelchu Bam Zeh Shachlu Shem Achila Gaso Poshem Mikashlu Bam Amar Levish Lakish Rasha Karisle Nihidelo Asa Mitzvah Min HaMufchar Mitzvah Miyai Kavid Kvar Mefursam HaKoshya. The question is famous. Damash Machlevish Lakish Tvirle Mitzvahs in Shrichos Kavana. So he has one more question, which I didn't give you all the Gemaras, but now I'll summarize his question. He says there's two problems with this Gemara. One is Achila Gasa around Shas. The second one is that the implication is that you're Yotzei without Kavana.
Why?
The one who does it L'Shem Kavana is Yotzei. Yeah. The one who does it L'Shem Achila Gasa is Yotzei, but not Mitzvah, but not Mufchar. That's true. Right?
You have to eat.
Correct. Right? But the problem is Reish Lakish in general holds that Mitzvah Shrichos Kavana. Right? Tzachim Dafka Vidal Kamesh Lakish Zosam Eretz Mitzvah Shrichos Kavana. V'ayim B'Tori Evan Mashakasav Vazev. V'nira Lomar. And he says, I think the answer is.
Is there some din by Achila you always have Kavana no matter what because of Hana or something?
Yeah,
so you could have gone that way, correct. You could have gone that way, right? Which is the way some people will go, is that just, it's not by mitzvahs, it's by Averos, right? That ha'osek, right? Misasek b'chalavim v'arayos is aser. Yes, you could have read this as the inverse, and that would have been a very good way, and said, yes, by all mitzvos achila, you don't need kavana, right? Vanir lomar, but the Beis Levi suggests something different. He says, Vanir lomar, the Reish Lakish shvirlei, the mitzvahi, shichova al gufa adam shemuto lav hachiyuv la'asosa, U'kumo b'hach de psachim, the adam mechuyev lechol mar. B'zein ha'yotzi de chavaso ilim kein mechavein l'kayim ha'mitzvah muteles alav. So he says, you only need kavana in mitzvos which are on the gavra, right, on the person. Aval achilas kadshim, but regular achilas kadshim is not a mitzvah on the gavra, it's a mitzvah that the chefza to be nechal. Right? Dimatzinu gabe lechem hapanim damar hagieni kapol. What's his proof?
It's only to avoid nosar.
No,
that they ate less than
by regular kachim first. That it's only by right. That regular kachim, there is no mitzvah achila. There's a mitzvah that the korban be ne'echal. Right. Bitotza as a result-oriented mitzvah.
Yeah, that's why that's the new I didn't take it.
That's why I didn't kazayis. Ukvar chakru bazeh rabosenu demuchim is a dechilus kachim ein tzarach kazayis. The kasavti azvara bezeh beveis halevi. Chilek Aleph, the Bishloma Achilas Pesach u'matzah dechilu val adam shu yochal tzarach kezayis. Says, but this is not true of Korban Pesach, where there is a mitzvah achila. How does he know? Because you need a kezayis, and yes, it's a mitzvah. Well, mitzvah achilas kachim de'ena choval shum adam shehu yochlenu. Right, normal karbanos, there is no mitzvah for anyone to eat it. There's a mitzvah that it be eaten. Rak ha-mitzvah shea korban ne'echal mishum hachi. Gam k'shemachalko laharbe anashim harei mikol makom this achel hakarban lobin and kazayis. And that's why by Korban Pesach you need kazayis, but everywhere else you just need to be nechal. Ubemitzvah kazos vir leireish lakish ein sarach kavana. V'asher rezekul al demodim dein sarach kavana. He says maybe that's what he means, that by karbanos. Now we'll have to distinguish Korban Pesach in a moment, because right, this would lead you to a bizarre conclusion. Right? He's aware of this. 1 second. Right? He says therefore maybe Reish Lakish thinks by achilas kadshim you don't need kavana because it's not a ma'aseh mitzvah on the person. It's a mitzvah that the korban get eaten. Yeah. Uvizeme yoshev hadiyivamos eats a mitzvah matzah tochal matzah shemikodem ma'aseh bechlal heder neser chazar v'hocha yachol tachsel ater rishon damalomer matzah tochal mavarshina etc. Okay. Skip down the line. Lefiza nicha the mitzvah achilas gadjem kulei amamodim dein tzarach kavana mikol makom nizachla. But then he says im kein gabe korban pesach. He said, but wait a second. I've just argued that the reason you don't need kavana is because of achilas kachim. But I, in the same breath, argued that the difference between achilas kachim and Pesach is that it is a chov al karpafta de gavra, proven by the fact that you need kazayas. So he says, mikol makom harei gam Pesach yotzim michlal kol hakachim. V'yishom mitzvah achilas kachim denafko mikra devachlo samasher kupar bohem. Achilas korban Pesach has tzvei dinim. It is achilas Pesach and achilas korban. V'nimtza de Pesach yesh shnei mitzvos ba'achilaso uksheochlo shalo bechavana. And now he says, you know what it means when it says you weren't yotzei mitzvah min ha-muvchar? It means you weren't mitzvah korban Pesach. You were only yotzei achilas kachim, right? Right? That's a lumdish read. Right? Yeah. Right? It says, V'yeshbo mitzvah achilas kachim. Sorry, I skipped a line. V'im kein gar Korban Pesach, aval gav du chiyav al gufa adam lechol b'v'tzar kazayis dafka, mikol gar gam Pesach al yasam mikal kol ha-kachim. V'yeshbo mitzvah shal achilas kachim, denafka mikra devachlo sam asher kupar bohem. V'nimtza de Pesach yishnei mitzvos, there are 2 mitzvos, b'achilasa uksheochlo shalo bechavana, so if you eat it without kavana, nihi de lo yatsa bo mitzvahs achilas Pesach. L'man di amar de tzar kavana. You are not yotzei the aspect of achilas korban Pesach, mikol makom kiyam mitzvah shel achilas kadshim. V'ka'amar Reish Lakish. Now he reads it back in Gemara. D'lo shayach lomar achilas zu uposhem mikashlubam. He's not saying you were yotzei Pesach. He's saying, right, he's very medayik. He says, what was Reish Lakish's opposition? Not you were yotzei Pesach, but you aren't a Rasha because you ate the Pesach. And he reads this. This is like the most lumdish way of reading. He says, you aren't a sinner because you were yotzei one of 2 mitzvos, but you are neither a tzaddik. וזהו במשל האוכל, כזית בכוונה, ואם כן הוא לא נכשל באכילתו רק במשל האוכל, והוא תירץ נחל. Right? So the Beis Halevi comes up with this very, very complicated analysis, right? Right? Which is, piece of evidence 1. Achilas Kachim doesn't require Kazayas. Achilas Pesach requires Kazayas. Yeah. From here he derives...
Must be
Kachim bechefza.
Right. Kachim is bechefza, chefza gavra, right? Or result action.
Yeah.
Right? That's really what he's saying. It's not really... it's chefza gavra, which in this case means result action. Right? Korban eaten... Person eat korban, right? In barbaric speak, right? Eat korban, korban eaten, right? Fine. Problem is that kavana points in the opposite direction, because Reish Lakish says you need kavana by most mitzvahs, but not by korban pesach, which implies that korban pesach is result oriented, right? Answer for the Beis Halevi: korban pesach is tzvei dinim, and in fact, it's true. You don't need kavana for Achilas Kachim, and you do for Korban Pesach. And therefore you have to reinterpret the Gemara in Nazir as saying...
You only get one of the two.
Correct. What about now Achila Gasa? Right?
It's good.
Now, Achila Gasa is a bit trickier. Right? Because what I would have said is what?
It's good for regular Korban.
Achila Gasa is good for regular Korbanot, and not for Korban Pesach, because Korban Pesach requires a Maisa Achila, and regular kachim require a totzah of it being nechal. Right? Now, you could pull the same lumdish move as the Beis Halevi, which is to say, maybe the Gemara doesn't really mean your Yotzei Pesach, it means your Yotzei Achilas Kachim Shabo, right? But not Pesach, right? You could come up with a very lumdish formulation, but that would be very lumdish, and the Gemara does not indicate this, right? So this is the question you're still going to have to come back and answer, but I think we'll have to do that.
Beis Halevi reads like the Ritva.
What?
Basically, leads.
So that's what we're going to have to come back next week, right? So I guess we'll have to continue this next week, which is now the alternative is, now there is an easy way to deal with this, which is except Rabbeinu Tam.
The Gemara in Yevamos,
right? Except Rabbeinu Tam, meaning if you read like Rabbeinu Tam, then the distinction between the distinction between the Gemaras is not Kachim versus Yom Kippur is just Tzvei Dinim in the types of Achila Gasa. If you say that, it's easy. And then you say the axis isn't this Gemara. But if you don't accept Rabbeinu Tam, then you're really in over your heads, because the implication of the Gemara is that Pesach is, and this is the real kasha on the Beis Halevi is what? That if you don't accept Rabbeinu Tam, the implication of the Gemara would be that Achilas Pesach is
not good,
more result oriented than other karbanos, right? Because the Gemara in Yevamos said that for normal karbanos, Achila Gasa is Lav Shmei Achila, right?
And here it said it is,
right? And for Korban Pesach, it is Shmei Achila, right?
I thought the Ritva reads the Gemara in Yevamos where it ends up that it is good.
Oh, no, you're right. Now the Gemara in Yevamos ends up rejecting this, but there was at least a stage in the Gemara where the Gemara entertained the possibility that Achila Gasa is Achila for other karbanot, and if you read it into the Gemara Nazir and not for Korban Pesach, right, which is going to force us to come back to the Ritva and look at the other answers, right? So far what I want to just show is that many of the Achronim like the Beis Halevi and try to explain the Kizayis, not Kizayis, and unique mitzvah to Korban Pesach as telling you that Korban Pesach has a mitzvah on the Gavra of Achila, Maisa Achila, rather than just a result that the Korban has to be eaten. The Or Sameach takes this to explain another set of evidence, right, which is, we'll have to come to, the halachot of Zmanim, right, which is what we'll do next week. The problem, and the reason that not all Achronim accept this analysis, is the kasha that I just raised. Is this explains very well Kizayis, not Kizayis, and will explain very well what the Or Sameach wants to prove from this, which is Man, right? But the Achila Gasa one, right, can be solved, because you could just possibly Rabbeinu Tam and solve the whole problem, but that at least should raise red flags that maybe it's not as simple as the Beis Halevi wants from you, and because I don't want to really torture you, I didn't give you all the Achronim, what I gave you was mild torture, which is the Ha'arot of Rav Yafin on the Ritva and Yevamos, where he summarizes the Achronim.
Beautiful. I love Rav Yafin.
I mean, he's great. He is great. He summarizes it very extensively. Okay, I'm going to, since I've already now committed to make it to the 1:30 mincha, I really should go. Purim Sameach.